What's up, party people? How y'all doing? Today I wanted to talk about the surge. I'm going to show you one other heat map. This was all, these are old screenshots. This was, looks like December 31st last year. And I did these screenshots, and forgive me if there's a glare. But I did these screenshots because at that time they were the highest surge multipliers that I'd seen in this area for a while. And since that time, I've seen the maps red hot on a handful of occasions, even early in the morning. And I started realizing that the map didn't really reflect the demand per se for the top tier platforms, but more so probably for the X platform, because I experienced many times waiting for a call, the map is blood red, and no calls come through, and then when I get a call, it doesn't include surge pricing. And the reason why this came up is because I did a video, and a gentleman made a comment, and apparently that individual works in the same area, somewhere in the New York City suburbs, Long Island, I believe it is. And he said that the maps were red hot. He was sitting right there on Main Street. He got no calls. Now, I don't know what platform he's on. I don't know if it's X, I don't know if it's XL, or any of the premium platforms. I do know that it's a lot slower for us. We get fewer ride requests, but we tend to make more money per trip. Before I go any further, I'd like to just remind you, please feel free, as always, to comment, like, subscribe on my videos. Hit the notification bell so you'll know when new videos are ready to be watched. That being said, let's get into it. So, as an example, with that nighttime map that I showed you, and I don't know if you'll be able to make this out. I think you will. But you'll be able to see that these were the trips that I did that night. And yeah, they're premium trips, premium SUV, okay. But you'll notice that they're in that stretch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Of those 8, one person canceled. And of those, out of the 7 that I actually did, 3 of them included surge pricing. And that is the last time that I saw anything like that. Now, I did a video before, and the video that I talked about was the whole surge pricing in essence, because I feel like on the lower tiers, especially the X platform, surge pricing is very necessary in order to make these trip requests reasonable. A lot of times X drivers are getting very short trips, and then they're not being paid a higher rate, and so it's a struggle. And I realize that you depend on that surge pricing. The problem is that, especially with this IPO and everything that's happened, and Uber and Lyft being held more accountable to achieving profitability, things like the surge, as you can see all across the country, they're squeezing it. It's happening less and less and less. And I have been in a position where for several months now, me personally, I don't care about the surge. Why? Because I don't get enough or any calls with surge pricing. I typically work in the mornings. Yes, there's a high demand in the morning. Sometimes the map is red, but very few times will I actually get a call for premium or even premium SUV on the surge pricing. Same thing with Lyft. So just to give you an example, in February, I did a stretch of work over a few days, and I'll show you these screenshots as well. Let's see, they're going in ascending order. Okay, so this looks like it starts with February 11th. Okay, February 11th and 12th, no surge pricing of any kind. This is the 13th and the 14th. Again, no surge pricing of any kind. And finally, we have 15, 16, and 17. And yes, I do that few calls on an average day, because I only work a few hours. But in that entire stretch of time that I worked, and the reason why I did these particular screenshots is there was surge, is that I got none. I got none. I did get tipped, and I did get decent trips where, as you saw, I made a decent piece of change on some of the trips especially. Expect this. You have to find a way to get around needing the surge. If you can't get around needing the surge, you're not going to be successful in doing this. Why? Because they're trying to eliminate the surge. This whole flat fee surge that they have instituted in other parts of the country is, to me, it's the same thing. So you're sitting here saying, well, geez, if you get a bunch of short trips, that's great. Because in essence, you're getting a flat fee surge, and on a short trip that you wouldn't have been paid anything, or even if it was with multiplier, you make out better. I think you lose out when you get long trips with a flat surge, and you would make out much better if it were with a multiplier. Okay, so we see Uber going towards, and I use Uber as an example, we see them going towards flat surge, flat fee surge. You have some people who are working 60, 70, 80 hours a week who seem to feel that it didn't really hurt them. Okay, respect it. But even now, with the flat fee surge, they are reducing those amounts as well. Then you have stories of people at airports massing together, drivers massing together, and manipulating the surge by turning off their app at a certain time, wait until it spikes, and then turn it back on. If you're at a point where you're jeopardizing your livelihood, you're making money doing this, and you can probably get away with doing that sort of thing, but for so long before you get caught. So you're jeopardizing your livelihood in order to manipulate the surge to make more money. If you're that dependent on a surge, depending upon where you're located, you need to start considering some other avenue, because Uber is working towards taking it away. Every bit that they can squeeze out of the driver is going towards their profitability, because now they're accountable for it. And it's a vicious cycle that's happening. I do realize that it's only the top tier drivers, the ones that are driving the SUVs and so forth, that are able to still make a living, so to speak. On average, we do much less trips. But, you know, I could tell you, even looking at the three screenshots that I did, a large portion of those people, they tip. They don't have a problem spending the money for the right transportation that they feel is right for them. It's comfortable, and they pay a nice piece of change because they're paying Uber 20% more than what I'm getting paid, obviously, and they still tip on top of it, and that happens repeatedly all the time. So that being said, listen, you need to figure out a way to work around the surge. Eventually it's gonna be gone. Simple as that. So with that being said, my friends, stay frosty. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.